A simplified push session for max gains. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? Larry here. Hey, look, yesterday spoke about being a little over 20 weeks of summer, but today, now we're going to put some of those theories into practice. We're going to use exercises that have a lot of tension with them. We're going to also do a low volume-esque workout. And we're also going to make sure that we're doing everything in a good range of motion, not necessarily full range all the way, but a good range of motion, kind of glary there. And from there, we're going to make sure that we exhaust the muscle completely with heavy weight. And we're going to do it, like I said, in a low volume. So I'm taking, for me, low volume is 3 sets and below, but I get where the 2 sets comes from. But anyway, like, subscribe to the channel, bringing out more content like this leading up to summer. But as it stands right now, let's get this push session in. I'm at the beautiful Los Campeones here in Eden Prairie, where it's a balmy 20-something degrees, as you can tell from the coat. So let's get to work. Okay, yesterday we discussed more of the high tension stuff, but before we get to that movement, I proceeded to do something that you probably want to think about. You want to pump the muscle up really good. So instead of starting out with a compound movement, I started out with an isolation movement, which is, in the old days, they called it pre-exhaustion, but I don't think it's that. I don't even think it's called that anymore. But what I did is I started out with some flies. So why start out with flies? There's a couple of different reasons. One, I don't have to worry about stressing out my shoulder and my elbows too much at the start of the beginning of the session when I got some heavy pressing that I want to do. And then on top of that, it allows me to work in a full range of motion and really exhaust the chest by itself. This is a very underrated exercise in that a lot of people do it light. No, if you can, you should load up as much weight as you can on here. If you're strong enough, you should stack it out and do flies in the double rep range, not necessarily low weight, but definitely in the double rep range. This will get your chest good and ready to warmed up and onto the heavy pressing. Now, when you move to the heavy pressing, you may feel a little bit of fatigue, and that's fine. That's why I always advise people to limit their warm-up sets into the single digits. And when you get up to your working set, that's when you really push the reps up. So here I'm playing it conservative this week. You've seen me handle 130, 140 pound dumbbells. I played it conservative with 90s because that's basically what I needed. So went ahead and put those into the double digit range, and this would act as my machine press, so to speak, because those I really try to push into the double digits, at least in the beginning of the session. But seeing that this was the second movement, I decided to make this a little bit more on the medium rep range before I got into the heavy stuff. Now, this is where the heavy mechanical tension that I was speaking about comes in, okay? I have this Arsenal strength bench press set up to where I get a pretty decent stretch, but from the bottom all the way up to the top, it is nothing but an absolute grind. As you can see, I got 3 plates on here, so it's nothing light, but I'm really just trying to handle that contraction. And I tell you what, it's something in a starting position. Like, yeah, it looks like it moved fast, but I assure you it didn't. So when we talk about this heavy tension, when I'm talking about maximum tension, I'm just talking about training heavy. You want a certain thickness to the muscle, male or female. You know, it has to be there for you to look like an absolute unit when the summer comes. So whether you are covered up most of the time like me with just a t-shirt on, or you have a sundress on or something, heavy training is a must. Don't try to get away from it. That's what's going to give you max tension in the muscle, is these heavy lifts, and that's what you most certainly need inside of your training to elicit that response. Here is a back off set. I only put on 2 plates and a 25, but it still provided a unique challenge, and it still did what I needed it to do as far as tension goes, as I pushed those reps up into the double digits again. Now, this is something that I didn't stress in the previous video, and that was the use of metabolic stress sets. Here I'm doing cluster sets, and normally I like to do about 6 sets of 4, but my chest was just absolutely swamped, so I didn't get through all 6 sets of 4. I got about through 4 sets of them. And the thing with this is that this eliminated the need to do flies on the back end. This was an isolation chest finisher style pump movement combined with kind of a compound movement, at least as far as the sets and rep ranges go. So this really filled my chest up very fast. Again, a high work to rest ratio is what I was looking for here. And if you looked at the last video, you know that that's what I was looking for with some movements. Now here we move on to shoulders, and with my shoulder training these days, I really don't do any heavy overhead pressing. I just do a variety of laterals. So as you can see here, I'm going up as far as I can with these Arsenal strength laterals. I think I did about 10 sets here. And when you're doing shoulder training, what I want you to shoot for is I just want you to shoot for volume. I just want you to pump the muscle up full of blood. Now, that's not to say you don't have to overhead press. If you are a fan of it and you get some benefit out of it, please, by all means, do so. It's just that at this point in my own training life, I just don't do a ton of it. I'd rather do a variety of laterals and then sometimes press. But yes, heavy overhead pressing is fun. All right, moving on to these super high laterals, or otherwise known as Lu raises. These were made by a Chinese weightlifter to be able to get his snatch position, the position he holds the barbell over his head in the snatch and in the clean and jerk. This helps strengthen that region. I like it because I don't have to go very heavy with these, and I can work through a big time range of motion. So after 8 reps, my delts are completely fried. So that's it for chest and shoulders. I'll get into why I didn't really show triceps, and hopefully I'll be able to show that to you guys very, very, very soon. All right, guys, that's it. No triceps today because I'm doing something experimental with arms, trying to break the 21-inch barrier by the end of the year. So that calls for extreme measures. But in any event, this is how I would suggest you put together a push session. That with the video before that I outlined some of the tips you need to follow: low volume, keeping the tension high with heavy weight and all that. So we're gonna try that out for a while, and then we'll progress you to the next stuff. So next subject is gonna be on nutrition and managing some of the outside things and some of the things that are in your control as far as stress goes, so you can help monitor your recovery. All right, so recovery is a big thing, so you can get in here and train often, okay? But we got to get the recovery down before you can train often. So we'll talk about how nutrition and stress management plays a role in that. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.